guys, so today I'm going to be doing an updated foundation routine and contouring and a little bit of everything, but it's updated. I did one of these last year in the summertime and I don't believe I was as fair as I am now. So some of you guys have asked me about fair skin or pale skin products and I have some to show you. I'm going to do a half drugstore side and a half high-end side. And if you can't tell the difference right now, this side is drugstore and this side is high-end. I almost didn't say that right. So if you couldn't tell the difference and you want to see how I got this entire face look, then just keep watching. Alright girls and guys, I talked about these little NYX concealer palettes. This one's a correcting palette and this one's just concealer. I talked about these in a favorites video and you guys asked me to show you how I use them, and so that's what I'm gonna do. So yeah, hopefully we're just gonna cover some zits up is what we're gonna do. So to start off, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna prime. I have a brush, not sure why. So on my high-end side, I'm going to be using the Tarte Clean Slate Poreless. It is a 12-hour perfecting primer and I am freaking obsessed with this. And on the drugstore side, I'm going to use the Maybelline Baby Skin. So I'm just pressing this into my face, and this is when you can admire your sweet breakouts, which I'm doing at the moment. Awesome. And on the other side, with my Baby Skin, and it's a different consistency. This one is thinner. It's still that silicone feeling. So we're primed. I'm done. We're primed. That's it. We don't need to spend too much time with that. So I'm going to go into my NYX color correcting guy. And I know these kind of are like intimidating, I feel like, because look at these colors. You're like, well, girl, what am I going to do? So basically what I do is the green color I put on any red zits I have. So that's any new zits that are on my face, not any scarring. I find that if I put the green on the scarring, it kind of makes me look a little crazy and like really washed out in comparison to the rest of my face. So I zoomed you into some sweet zit action. This guy is fresh. This guy is up and coming. So I gotta cover the redness, and I'm gonna do that with this little tiny flat brush. This is from BH Cosmetics. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of that green action on this brush and I'm gonna put it on that freaking zit, and there's one next to it. We're just gonna cover it. So I kind of just wipe off the excess. Where you can see that freaking circle, I just kind of blend out the edges. And you're gonna put concealer over it. So we just wanna get rid of that redness that isn't gonna be covered by concealer. The NYX concealers are really great and they will cover a lot. So this may not even be necessary for you to color correct, but it is for me because these girls are pretty dark. And you. And now we're talking. So now we've got that covered, and I know it looks green. It looks kind of crazy and pale, and you know, we're just gonna cover these up. So I'm gonna move on to under eyes. I'm gonna take this salmon color and I'm gonna put this where my dark circles are. So my dark circles stop about here. So I only put the color where I'm trying to correct. We're gonna pat this on the inner corner where I have that bluish area there, and just right underneath. And look at that. You can tell a huge difference, I think, in the under eye circles. So there's that. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side. So next I'm gonna cover the green action we just did, which you can see covered a lot of that redness. And I'm gonna use the other NYX palette. This is just the concealer palette in light. And I'm going to use these two guys. It's like that perfect shade for me, but you can play around again with what works for you. So I'm just going to go over where that green was and that same brush and apply that product. I do have some hyperpigmentation here, so I'm going to cover that. Some redness on my nose that I could correct with some green concealer, but usually my foundation will go ahead and cover that. But besides that, it looks like I have clear skin, which is what we're wanting before we even get to our foundation. So for foundation, I'm going to be using the IT Cosmetics CC cream on, was it this side? It was this side. On this side. And the Maybelline Fit Me Dewy and Smooth Finish in the color Porcelain. 110 is the color, 110. I'm going to use it with a damp beauty blender. So I'm going to put this on the back of my hand And I'm gonna dip my beauty blender in there. And I typically start at the bottom. Started from the bottom now, yeah. So I'm gonna start from the bottom and work my way up. And sometimes with a damp beauty blender, it will thin out those areas where you put concealer. So sometimes you might just want to use a dry beauty blender if it's like super dark pigmentation. I pick up the product and I press it into my skin or bounce it into my skin. I don't drag the beauty blender or anything like that. If you've seen people use these beauty blenders before, you already know that. I don't gotta tell you that, but yeah. So anywhere that I need the additional coverage, like where I had those breakouts right here, I'm gonna apply some more product there, but I don't apply product anywhere else because I don't wanna start getting cakey. So I only apply the product where I need it when I go in for a second coat. And I'm gonna bring it down to my neck a little bit. But yeah, so this is the high-end side so far. Now I'm gonna go in with this Maybelline Fit Me foundation. And I usually put it on the back of my hand, and clean hand, and then dab it on. And the consistency is definitely different on this foundation. It is not as creamy. It's more of a wet consistency, I think. Pretty comparable with the color though, I think. I'm gonna apply some more where I need the extra coverage. So next, some more concealer. It's gonna be like a highlight more so than it is concealing. So I'm gonna take the NARS Chantilly. This is my favorite concealer of life. This is gonna be on the high-end side. So I'm just going to do this like triangular shape. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna do it at my nose and like this. And there. And I always highlight right here because I have these weird like shadows that happen here. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm gonna bounce it around with my beauty blender. Just bounce it, blend it. And you'll see that this really brightens my under eye, especially since I have dark circles happening. And it just brightens the center of my face. So the concealer I'm going to use on the other side is the Hard Candy Glamouflage, and this is in the color Light. So I'm going to apply this with my finger because it doesn't really have an applicator. It's in the same areas I applied the Chantilly. So to set my under eye, I'm going to use the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette, and I'm going to use these two light colors together. I'm using it on the Sigma F35 brush, and I really love this powder. It's awesome. It's awesome. Then on the other side, I'm going to use, that was a weird accent, right? These two guys, which I find are comparable to the ones in the Kat Von D palette, and this is, oh sorry, this is the NYX contour palette, and I'm using these guys. And set the under eye because I crease like a mofo. Alright, this one's a little lighter. Weird. So I'm going to set my foundation using the NARS, I don't even know, this is a NARS powder. It is in the color Flesh, but I'm using the Real Techniques powder, big fat fluffy brush, and it's awesome. I love it. So then on the Drugstore Side, I'm going to use the Rimmel Stay Matte powder in the color Natural on the same brush. What I do is I press it into my skin instead of rubbing it in because I don't want to rub any of that foundation off, especially since we are doing full coverage. So for contouring, I'm going to use the Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. This is on the high-end side, so I guess I should hold it over here. Color here, it's like a cool toned bronzer. I'm going to put it right in this area, kind of make my line like that, and then I blend it upwards. You don't want to pull it down because we don't want to look like our cheeks are sinking in, you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to look like that. I mean, maybe you do want to look like that, and if you do, that's how you achieve it. So there you go, girls. And put it underneath my chin, my jawline, and this just like sharpens my jawline. Bam! Sharp! It'll cut ya, you know what I mean? So then I'm going to take the Kat Von D bronzer again and go onto my forehead. So on the other side, we're going to use the NYX contour palette. I usually use this guy right here. I'm just going to do the same thing. And there's the line. We're not going to leave it like that, obviously. And we're going to blend upwards. And this is definitely a warmer toned bronzer than the other one. There's that one, there's that one. And then I'm gonna go into the same color in the NYX that I just did and do the same thing, kind of blend it onto my forehead. Here we go. So I'm gonna go back in with this Sigma F35 and I'm gonna go back into like this guy here and I'm gonna sharpen that line underneath my bronzer to like brighten that up, you know, so it doesn't look dirty, you know what I mean? We're gonna go into this guy here and sharpen underneath where I put that bronzer. Okay, for blush, I'm gonna use Sigma blush called Serene, and I'm gonna use this on the high-end side. I guess I'd consider it high-end. Not too sure if that's what it is, but we're just gonna go with that. And I'm using this brush, like an angled blush brush, and I'm gonna tap that on my cheekbones. And, oh, no! On the other side, even though we tainted it already, we're gonna go in with the Milani Romantic Rose blush. And I'm sorry guys, I went a little too crazy with that Sigma blush. It was just habit. Whoa, this is super pigmented, yikes. So we've got some intense blush things going on. So for highlights on my Drugstore Side, I'm going to use the NYX contour palette and use this white color right here. I'm going to highlight the tops of the cheekbones, and I like to do right here too, like on the inner, like right next to my nose. On the high-end side, I'm going to use the Hourglass Ambient Lighting palette, and I'm going to use this center highlighter called Incandescent Light. Use the same brush, put that on. Alright guys, so this is the final look after I put my lips on and finished my eye makeup. I ended up using LA Splash OG Ghoulish on the lips, and I used the Anastasia Artist palette on the eyes. So I hope this helped you guys, especially if you are a fair skin gal like me and you are maybe looking for some foundations to try out. And yeah, so if you did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up if you want, or you can just say hey girl hey. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.